Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're not just studying topics. We are, you and I, becoming detectives. And our mission? It's to decode a recent RRB NTPC exam paper, figure out the hidden patterns, and basically crack the code of how these questions are made. All right, you ready? Let's dive in. So here it is, the big question on everyone's mind. What is the real secret to acing this exam? I mean, is it just about cramming as many facts as possible, or is there a smarter way to go about it? Well, I believe the clues are hiding in plain sight, right inside the questions themselves. And that's exactly what we're going to do. You know what they say, the best way to predict the future is to understand the past. So we're going to tear down the actual questions that were asked, piece by piece, and build our winning strategy from the ground up. First up, we're diving into the rich and, let's be honest, complex pages of Indian history. As we'll see, the questions here were anything but random. They really zoomed in on the moments and the people that shaped everything. Okay, take a look at this timeline. It gives us a great mental map. The exam isn't just throwing dates at you. It starts with a huge turning point, the Battle of Plassey in 1757, which really cemented British power. Then, notice how it jumps to the early 20th century, focusing on two absolute giants, Dadabhai Naoroji and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The pattern here? It's clear they care about the impact and the legacy of these events in people, not just the what and when. And speaking of giants, let's zoom in on Dadabhai Naoroji. The exam didn't just ask about his famous book. It was testing the whole constellation of his achievements. He wasn't just the grand old man of India, right? He was the intellectual powerhouse who gave us the drain of wealth theory, a game-changing idea that explained exactly how British rule was hurting India financially. He was a total trailblazer, the first Indian in the British Parliament, and a rock for the early Indian National Congress. You see the pattern? They want you to know the whole story. All right, from the foundations of modern India, we're moving to the bedrock of its democracy, the Indian Constitution. Now, we all know this is a hot topic, but just like with history, the exam wasn't picking articles out of a hat. Our little investigation here revealed a very, very clear theme. And here it is, our first major clue. This is huge. The examiners sent a massive signal by asking not one, not two, but three separate questions all on a single topic, citizenship. Now that is not an accident. When a topic gets this much real estate on an exam, it goes from a nice to know to an absolutely must know. This is the kind of pattern that should literally change how you study. This really shows the depth they expect. They're not just asking what's citizenship. They're hitting it from three different angles. The very beginning, with Article 5 from 1950, the process, with Section 10 of the 1955 Act about losing citizenship, and the present day, with the recent and highly talked about CAA of 2019. The takeaway couldn't be clearer. You need to understand the entire lifespan of a topic. And they demanded that same level of detail for the 74th Amendment question. It wasn't enough to just know the general idea. You had to know the nitty-gritty. So yes, it added a new part, Part 9A, check. And yes, it deals with municipalities, check. But here's the curveball, the little detail designed to trip you up, the schedule. It added the 12th schedule, not the 10th. So the lesson here? Precision is everything. Okay, now let's see if this pattern of understanding systems and tiny details holds up in other subjects. We're going to switch gears and jump into the world of science. And surprise, surprise, the focus wasn't on random facts, but on understanding relationships, comparisons, and the fundamental rules that run the world around us. Here's a perfect example, the question on plant tissues. It's that classic biology showdown, xylem versus phloem. The trick is to see them as two parts of one big system. Think of xylem as the plant's plumbing, a one-way street of dead cells just pulling water up from the roots. Phloem, on the other hand, is the food delivery service, a two-way highway of living cells moving sugars wherever they're needed. It's all about their different but totally complementary jobs. The chemistry questions followed that same logic. You gotta know your inputs and your outputs. So what happens when you mix an acid and a base? You get that classic neutralization, making salts and water. Simple enough. But what if you take that same acid and mix it with an active metal? Whoa, totally different result. You get hydrogen gas. It's all about knowing the rules of the chemical game. And I love this one. It's a great example of how subjects are all connected. This question blends geography with agriculture. So why is black soil, also known as rigor soil, so amazing for growing cotton? Well, it all boils down to one key feature, its incredible ability to hold on to moisture, which is just perfect for a thirsty crop like cotton. This is a classic case where knowing one little scientific fact unlocks a big geographical one. Okay, from the soil under our feet, let's zoom all the way out and look at India's place in the world today. This section shows us that the exam isn't just about things that happened in the past. It's testing whether you're paying attention to current affairs, global rankings, and big strategic moves. So here's a number that tells a pretty cool story. According to the latest Global Forest Resources Assessment, India has climbed up to 9th place in the world for total forest area. Now, that's not just a random statistic. It represents years of policy and hard work in conservation. And you can see the progress right here. This wasn't just about holding steady. India actually moved up from 10th place to 9th. And what does that tell us? It tells us the examiners expect you to know not just the current stats, but the recent trends too. Are things going up or down? Now, shifting over to geopolitics, there was a question about our neighbor to the east, Myanmar. Why is it so important to India? Well, because it's our only land bridge to all the ASEAN countries. That's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. This makes Myanmar a crucial gateway for India's Act East policy, which is all about building stronger economic and strategic ties with Southeast Asia. For our final section, let's boot up our computer knowledge. The questions here weren't about super complex coding or anything. They were about the basic, fundamental ideas and practical tools that, honestly, anyone who uses a computer should probably know. First up, BIOS. What on earth is it? Think of it like the computer's first breath when you turn it on. It's that essential little program on a chip that wakes up all the hardware, your keyboard, your screen, your hard drive, and gets them all ready for the main operating system to take over. It's the absolute first step. Now, this next one's pretty interesting. The exam asked about a characteristic of computers. What do you call that ability to do the same boring task a million times in a row without ever getting tired or making a silly mistake? The answer is diligence. It's one of the biggest advantages a machine has over a person. And finally, a super practical question. You know how your computer sometimes starts up really slowly because a million programs are trying to load at once? How do you fix that? Well, the tool you need is this system configuration utility, and the command you type to open it is msconfig, just a simple, useful piece of info. So after all this detective work, after decoding all these questions, what's the big takeaway? It's this. The exam isn't just a list of disconnected facts. Everything is linked. History connects to politics, geography connects to science, and all of it is tied to what's happening in the world right now. The real secret to success is learning to see those connections. So I'll leave you with a final puzzle. We've seen that the exam loves foundational figures, hot-button political topics like citizenship, and current global trends. Knowing all this, if you had to place a bet on one topic that's going to show up on the next exam, what would it be? A new amendment? A big global ranking? A scientific breakthrough that's been in the news? The clues for the future are right there, in the patterns of the past. Happy decoding!